to our fall 2016, well, summer and fall 2016 Student Fellowship Showcase, which is also a kind of graduation ceremony for the students that have been working with us, in some cases, even since last spring, but mostly from summer and fall. This is one of the, if not the highlight for me of each semester, when we get to recognize and acknowledge this wonderful cohort of students that out of a student population here at Queensborough Community College of 16,000 registered students, the 30 to 40 each semester who participate in our fellowships, who took it upon themselves to add another hour a week onto their already busy schedules with work and family and classes and all the other commitments our students have, set aside an hour to devote to exploring very difficult and troubling topics in our history, but for the sake of trying to educate themselves and to create a better world in the future. This crop of students is the future leaders of our society, I have no doubt. And it's a pleasure to learn what they've accomplished over the course of a semester or two, and to take comfort in a season that has been very distressing, that in the midst even of troubling times in our own society, there are young people who are not cynical, who are not jaded, who have not given up, but who are here to learn all they can, to grow as much as they can, and to take what they learn here out into the world and to make a difference. And so I'm very humbled each semester to participate in this ceremony and to hear what you all have to say, and to come to see how capable our young people are, and try to take comfort in their strength, and not your strength, and your vision, and your optimism, and your hope. So we're going to be acknowledging 4 different fellowships this time around. As you all may have seen if you came up the hallway, we have a phenomenal new exhibit that follows the life of a Holocaust survivor from Lithuania who eventually came to live right here on Long Island, in New York City and then on Long Island. And that exhibit was in the works for about 15 months. And we had a group of QCC students and other recent graduates who were fellows on that internship program. And we're going to hear from that group. We also have our 3 mainstay fellowships: hate crimes in our communities, Asian social justice, and our Holocaust fellowship. As always, there's a long list of thank yous, and I'll highlight just a few of them. Of course, none of this would be possible without the support of Queensborough Community College's president, Dr. Diane Call, who is a big supporter of this Holocaust Center and of our students here at QCC. And we are very thankful to her for ongoing support. Of course, we have our local elected officials. The names highlighted are actually the names of the legislators who are here with us today. We have City Council Member Barry Grodenchik. We have Assemblyman Ed Braunstein, both of whom represent this campus's area. And we also have a representative from Assemblyman David Weprin's office, who's here with us today. And in addition to the beautiful graduation certificates we make in-house, let me pull this corner out there, the City Council members and Assembly members have also brought you recognition certificates from their offices with the appropriate city and state seals. So something else to hang on the wall and put on your CV. We also want to thank some particular donors who have named fellowships. So a few of the fellowship certificates we'll be presenting today will be named after donors or their family members. And this is thanks to their generosity that they asked us, add one more student to your fellowship so that there can be room at the table for another student to learn, and please name it after my sister or my father. So we want to especially thank Dr. Marlene Blumen and Cheryl and Stephen Levine. And also when my predecessor, Dr. Arthur Flug, retired, he had started the hate crimes course, and several generous donors contributed as a pool to add one more fellowship in his name. So we want to thank those supporters as well. And before we get to the curatorial internship, I also want to thank two other groups. I want to thank the Korean American Civic Empowerment Group, which is a group in collaboration with which we created the Asian Social Justice course. And it continues to be a collaboration between our two groups. And I also want to thank Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan for their support of the Holocaust Fellowship. So what we're going to do is I'm going to invite up some of our wonderful special guests. And after they've all spoken, we're going to have the students and the invited guests come up real quick for a big group picture. So on my cue, please just come up, and we're just going to line up here. But we're going to hear what they have to say first, so you know who you're posing with. And you'll appreciate it more when you get that picture over social media. So without further ado, I'd like to invite up Assemblyman Ed Braunstein.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lesham, and it's an honor to be here today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Assemblyman Ed Braunstein. I represent 125,000 people from the neighborhoods of Whitestone, Bayside, Douglaston, and Little Neck, and a little bit of Floral Park. First, I want to thank you guys for participating in this program. It's a very important program, and it's great to see young people have the right priorities in line and choose to undertake this fellowship. I've been here in the past, and from what I understand, I believe that part of the things that you've learned are you've spoken to some of the comfort women. Is that true? Have you explored the comfort women issue? And that's something that is important, because there are certain groups, certain countries that try to minimize the issue of the comfort women, or try to deny the existence of the comfort women, or try to even argue that it was a voluntary of some of the things that happened. And it's important that we remember and we learn about exactly what happened. And by learning about this and maybe even speaking to some of the survivors, you have an opportunity to pass their story on to future generations. First of all, so people can't deny that it happened, and also so we can make sure that crimes like this never happen again. There are going to be times when there's wars, but we have international rules that we must follow, and sex crimes like that are unacceptable. And also, I know many of you have taken the time to speak to some of the Holocaust survivors. And once again, this is another area where some people try to deny its existence or try to minimize how severe it was. And talking to some of the brave survivors, especially their first-hand accounts of what happened, sometimes really pushes home exactly what happened, and you get a better understanding, and you could see the emotion behind it. And it's important also that moving forward, you tell future generations about the stories that you've heard, and you make sure that they understand the gravity of the situation, so we make sure that in future times that something like this never happens again. That's part of the most important part of this course, is for young people to make sure that you understand that history repeats itself sometimes if we're not careful about making sure that we do the right thing. And then finally, I saw this is something new that I haven't seen before, the Hate Crimes Fellowship. And it's something that is particularly timely, considering some of the events that have occurred with the new president-elect. Some people feel that with the new president-elect that they're emboldened, and they feel that their hatred is justified and can be expressed. And it's not only in places in the country where we expect to see these things, whether it's down south where there's still a legacy of racism from slavery. But we're seeing some of this with hate graffiti in our neighborhood here in Queens. And it's important that we're not quiet about it. You know, you have the tendency to say to yourself, that's probably some crazy kid. It's probably some nut. You know, I'm not going to take it seriously because, you know, my neighbors don't feel this way, and I don't think my neighbors feel this way. But it's important that we're not complacent in it. It's important that we speak out against it. It's important that we let everybody know that this is not how people feel, especially here in Queens. And I know that by you guys taking part in this program, you are the type who will speak out about these things, especially here on campus. And that's why it's refreshing to see young people like yourselves who take part in this fellowship. And then finally, I know we see one of our survivors here who's very dedicated and comes here pretty much every year. We owe a specific debt of gratitude to those survivors, whether the Comfort Women or the Holocaust survivors, who have the bravery to come out and tell their story. A lot of times when someone's suffered a trauma, they don't want to speak about it again. They don't want to bring up the bad feelings that it brings up. And it's their bravery. It's not something that people willingly want to do. It's not easy, but they're doing it because they think it's that important to make sure that their story is moved forward and make sure that these things don't happen again. So it's an honor to be here. Dr. Lajszky, I think you're doing an incredible job. It's nice to move the event out here, the beautiful light and everything. So once again, it's an honor to be here, and I appreciate all the work you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Bronstein. I'd like now to introduce you to our City Council member, Barry Grodenchik.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. It's always good to be here. I don't know if you could say that about a Holocaust Center, but it's true. And I'm fond of telling people that this center, I remember the planning and the construction. It's one of the few places I've ever been to that the actual facility looks better than the rendering. So it's a beautiful spot here at Queensborough Community College. And I was very interested in hearing what my friend Ed Bronstein had to say, because a lot of what he said bears repeating. We have seen a rise in hate crimes. I met this week with some of my colleagues in the Jewish caucus in the City Council with Police Commissioner O'Neill. He's relatively new as police commissioner, but relatively old as a member of the New York City Police Department. He's been there his entire life as an adult, and I think he's doing a great job, and we're very lucky to have him. And the NYPD, just so everybody here knows, is taking this bump up in hate crimes very seriously. And it's not like we have thousands of them in the city of New York, but we do have hundreds, and it's increased a fair percentage. So if you see something, take a picture. He said the number one ability for the police to solve these crimes is people who send in pictures or video, because often there are no witnesses to these crimes. So with that said, there have been voices of hate being raised around the country and even in our city. But we here in Queens, while other people are raising their voices in hatred, we have a great history of tolerance in this county of ours, which began in Flushing over 350 years ago with the Flushing Remonstrance. People hear me talk about that a lot, but it's important. And the Flushing Remonstrance really was a forerunner to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And so that's our legacy. I'm so happy to see so many young people here who are willing to get involved, Dr. Lajszky, and not only learn about the Holocaust and the other horrors such as Armenia and Rwanda and Cambodia and the rape of Nanjing and the Korean comfort women that you have highlighted here. The latest exhibition is really the finest I've seen here, and it really, I'm happy to be here because, as Assemblyman Bronstein said, we cannot forget. So how many of you here are from Martin Van Buren High School? Oh, a lot of people. Okay, so that is in my district, so I'm happy to see so many young people who have participated You tell Mr. Sochet when you see him, if you you're going back to school after this, you got the rest of the day off. Nobody wants to answer that question, huh? Well, you see him on Monday, you tell him Barry says hello. Sam, I know your principal since we were about that high from the 4th grade, so we go way back. It's important when you've completed your fellowships here. I tell young people when they graduate, you're graduating from a fellowship. When you graduate from a school, you're ambassadors for that school, and you're going to be ambassadors now for the Holocaust Resource Center here at Queensborough. And it's part of the heritage that you now possess to talk about this and to let other people know what's going on and to speak out. One of the reasons that the Holocaust got to the monstrous heights that it got to was that not enough people spoke out. They didn't speak out because the Nazis hadn't come for them. They were getting communists or socialists or trade unionists or Jews or Roma or developmentally disabled or mentally ill people. But at the end of the day, as Dr. King said, injustice to anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So we've seen some ugliness these past few months, especially in the national political campaigns. It's our job as Americans to speak out, and we will not be silent, and we will not look the other way, and we will not be divided, and we will stand together. And I know there's a lot of nervousness now, especially in our immigrant communities. Ed and I represent some of the most diverse communities on the face of the earth, but we will not be silent. And we expect, we know that our colleagues in government, we had a lot of them together to meet with the Bishop of Brooklyn, Bishop DiMarzio this morning. He was quite strong in his opinions about immigrants and about undocumented people. So we are not going to go silently into that quiet night. So I want to thank you for everything you have done and that you will continue to do. And I hope you will stay at your studies no matter what you decide to do. You don't know where life is going to take you. As a young boy at PS 201, just a little while for me, I never would have imagined I'd be an elected official. And your principal, Mr. Sochet, sitting next to me, probably never imagined he'd be your principal. So you don't know where it's going to go, but work hard and enjoy the ride. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Barry. We have just 2 more speakers before we hear from the students, which is always the most exciting part. We have a very interesting opportunity today. We're joined by a representative from Assemblyman Weprin's office, David Weprin. Now, one of the interesting things, and Barry, you spoke about this space, that David Weprin was in the city council then and helped us come up with the funding to build this building. So David has, the sun isn't blinding you right now, thanks to really the tireless work of David Weprin. So it's really an honor to have someone from his office here, of course, along with the other elected officials, but he really was a driving force. We have a representative from his office today to speak to you. And one of the very interesting things about Casey Lajszky is that she is a QCC graduate. So Casey, would you please come up?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Casey Lajszky, and I am the Director of Constituent and Support Services for Assemblyman David Weprin. First off, he wants to send his most sincere apologies for not being able to attend today, but he did have a conflict. But he's sending me as a QCC ambassador, according to Councilman Grodenchik. And he just wanted me to express how proud he is of every single student at QCC, but especially the fellows of this program. I just want to say a little bit about me. I graduated from QCC in 2012. So when I started, my freshman year was the opening of this building. And I remember my sociology class, we took a field trip from our classroom to the center, and it did not look like this. It has expanded so much since then. So that is a really wonderful thing to come back and be able to see as an alumni. But I graduated with a liberal arts degree, associates in arts, and I went on to SUNY Cortland, where I got my bachelor's in political science. And I had no idea that that was what I wanted, but because I came here and I did liberal arts and gen ed classes, and I learned and I joined programs, and I joined a specific activism program on campus. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to shout them out, but they were really great, and they taught me all about politics and all about legislation, and basically pointed me in the direction that I was meant to go. And I just wanted to say that this school is what you make it. It's what you put into it. So join every club, go to every event, join all the programs that you can, because it's a great school with great professors, great programs, great students, and I hope you guys have as great of an experience here as I did. Thank you.
It is now a real great pleasure to invite up the Executive Director of Korean American Civic Empowerment that has really been such a strong partner to our center, and in fact has opened our eyes to, our two representatives from KHC are having a debate about who's going to come up. So my eyes are darting back and forth. It's like a tennis match. I do not believe this center ever would have embarked on the work we've done on the Comfort Women issue if we hadn't been approached, I believe around 2010, 2011, by Korean American Civic Empowerment, that from what I understand came to us, as it has started to happen with Holocaust centers everywhere, that different communities come and say, you guys have managed to keep the memory of your cultural experience alive. You've managed to honor and elevate the survivors of your experience. You've managed to teach your children and your next generation about the importance of this, not only to your cultural group, but as a global event, as an event in the global culture of humankind. And it was my predecessor's pleasure to share our resources and our experience and our expertise with the Korean American community to try to help them tell their story as well. And all of the students here, and you're going to hear from an amazing student from our fellowship this semester, and the wonderful instructors that KHC has provided over the years. This is really one of our most dynamic and I think, one of our most important programs that we do here. And without further ado, which one of you is coming? Oh, I'd like to invite Chejin Park to represent KHC.
Thank you, Dan. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chejin Park. I'm staff attorney for the Korean American Civic Empowerment, and I really appreciate Dr. Cole and this QCC and Holocaust Center for having this wonderful program with us. I mean, as Dan introduced, we have been working together for this internship program, Asian Social Justice Program, for a couple of years from now. And then we have many students who graduated this program. And we are willing to, it is a really good example that those two communities are working together for the same purpose, same objectives. And it's a long time partnership. It represents how, it shows that, how good people can work together in the community. And we hope working together in the future too. And then we will keep supporting this Asian social justice program. And we would like to, congratulate the graduate students. And I hope they had really good experience. Especially they came to our office last week, and then they interviewed the Comfort Woman survivor using Skype, the video conference call. And I believe that was really interesting experience for them. And then we are, as the Comfort Woman survivor, Miss Lee, asked to you guys, there was one thing, right? Don't forget about her and spread the story to the world. I wanted to ask you students to do, the same thing. And that's our comments. So thank you.
Thank you. Stay here. Stay here. Can all the fellowship students please come up for a quick photo, and all of our speakers who have come so far, please come up and join us. Let me now amaze you. Oh, now I set a really high bar. The exhibit, I think that the Van Buren High School students, you came in the glass doors, you didn't have a chance to see the exhibit, but before, you had a tour of the exhibit. No? There's a different class. Different class. Make sure you see it before you go, and I'll be happy to do a tour with you before you go. But we had an amazing thing happen about 1.5 years ago when someone brought us a jacket from a concentration camp from the Holocaust. They had bought it basically at a yard sale. And she said, I don't know the full history of this, but it belongs in a museum. Well, we did the research on the full history. We worked with the family of that survivor who brought us hundreds of documents and photographs. We spent about 6 months just organizing the materials, and we spent about another 7 months preparing this exhibit. But the most amazing thing about the way we did this exhibit, from my perspective, I was amazed, is that students from QCC and a few students, we had one high school student on the project as well, and a few young people who had recently graduated, students, interns, worked on the exhibit from the beginning until the end. The amazing young woman you're about to hear from was here sorting papers and putting them in plastic sleeves last April, and the exhibit didn't launch until October. And over the summer she was here, she wasn't paid. She was here 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week. She's also a full-time student, and she also has a full-time job that actually paid the bills. This was her third gig. Caitlin and about 6 other interns worked with our curator in residence to really complete this exhibit from ground up, from selecting which materials would be included in the exhibit, to hanging them on the wall, to then doing tours. They really are an amazing group, and I hope, we'll hear from you in a moment, I hope this fellowship meant as much to you as it did to me and to us here at the center. But I'd like now to welcome Caitlin Cicerello.
Nearly a year ago, as I was seeking internship opportunities, my advisor pointed me in the direction of the Holocaust Resource Center. It was an intriguing concept because I had never considered working at a museum which specifically dealt with a historical event. Not knowing what to expect, I began what was supposed to be an 180-hour internship, but found myself immersed in the work that was being done here, spending more than twice the required hours. I had the option to do work that had never been exposed before, from cataloging documents and archiving them to assisting with setting up the installations at the exhibition you see here today. What I found even more impactful, however, was how the Resource Center engages with the Holocaust survivors and having the opportunity to speak with some of them. What began as a short internship in an art gallery and museum studies turned into an immersive experience that showed me a wholly different side of the art administration and the role places like this center play in the preservation of history. Interning here has been truly an eye-opening and fantastic experience, and I'd recommend the opportunity to any students interested in pursuing an education in the art field. I would also like to thank Dr. Dan Lajszky, the director, Marissa Hollywood, the assistant director, and Dr. Carrie Lane, the in-house curator, for the guidance and opportunity they had provided me. And again, I do encourage any of you who are considering that internship to take it here. Thank you.
I'm tempted to say more about Caitlin because I don't think she said enough about herself, but remarkable young woman. I'd like now to introduce our instructor for the Hate Crime Fellowship. Oh, there she is. Ms. Jen Hickey, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Hickey. I have led the Hate Crimes Fellowship the past 4 semesters here at the Cuthbert Holocaust Center at QCC. Just a few more extra notes of thanks. Everyone who's been thanked before totally deserves it, but my class has a few guest speakers who come in. I'd like to thank the NYPD Hate Crimes Task Force for sending Sergeant Kenneth Lonergan to speak to my students again, as well as ADA Mariella Herring, who heads up the Hate Crimes and Gang Unit in the Queens DA's office, as well as the Queens DA office for sending Detective Matos from the Immigrant Affairs Bureau, a recently created bureau inside the Queens DA's office that deals specifically with immigrant community issues and problems as brought to them, which is very unique for a county or a borough like Queens. Queens is undoubtedly, statistically, and amazingly the most culturally diverse community on the planet. There is no comparison. Everyone is here and everyone is welcome here. As I have taught the Hate Crimes Fellowship the past 2 years, this semester was a bit different for me. There was a lot of talk about hate crimes in this city and how the rhetoric of the recent presidential election was affecting them. On a more somber note, since Election Day, there have been 43 possible hate crime incidents within the 5 boroughs. That is double the amount that happened in the same time frame last year. And over the course of this year so far, there's been a 35% increase in hate crimes. These aren't positive statistics. They're not good. They don't make us feel good as a community. But as mentioned previously by some of our elected officials, the NYPD, along with all 5 district attorneys' offices, along with the governor's office, have been very clear. This will not stand, not in our state, not in our city, not in our homes. And it is a pleasure that I get to teach students every semester about hate crimes and how they can be community ambassadors in their own lives to their friends, family, or anyone they come across. I also get to teach students from visiting high schools. Hopefully you guys will come back and take a class from me. I make Harry Potter references, so it's great. You'll love it. But it's very important that we have this dialogue, that we start this dialogue with anyone who will listen, and that for you guys to be so empowered to be able to move forward and be that voice in your community is great. You know, as I reminded my students, as the Holocaust Museum in DC said, the Holocaust didn't begin with killing, it began with words. And it began by targeting those who couldn't protect themselves, specifically the T4 program, which targeted the mentally disabled and physically handicapped. As a community, it is our job to be aware of the dangers that society can face, especially when we're in a time when we have politicians looking to Korematsu as a how-to guide, as opposed to a dark legislative and societal stain on our nation's history. It's important that you be aware of what's going on with your current events, and it's important that you educate yourself and those around you. Unfortunately, 3 of my students could not make the presentation today due to other commitments, so we actually have a little video clip show of all 4 of them presenting this past Tuesday. All right, so please enjoy.
From my knowledge, a crime is a crime, right? But for a crime to be committed because of someone's presentation, how they present themselves to society, should have a heavier means of a punishment. We know the First Amendment, freedom of speech, religion. It's not fair for someone to be targeted because of how they present themselves, because they're Muslim or because they're Black. It should have a heavier, punishment. And I do have a lot of Muslim friends, and recently one of their mothers was a victim of a hate crime. It was an assault back in, I think it was like 2 years ago. And just like thinking about it, because I have a lot of friends, it makes me feel some kind of way, because many, especially like with the current election of Donald Trump, about kicking all Muslims out of the US and, getting rid of them because they're all terrorists. It kind of shows a sign to like how the image is changing from what a real terrorist is,
When most people discover that someone close to them or someone they've been talking to has a mental illness, they immediately start to treat that person differently, like a wild animal. Like, you have a friend, like some people will have a friend, and then when the friend tells them, oh, I have schizophrenia or something, as soon as they hear that, they distance themselves from the friend as much as possible and treat them like they're going to snap at any moment, like walking on eggshells, despite how well they got along with the person or how normally the person acted and like blended into society.
On the next slide is why I decided to put a personal picture. This happens to be my girlfriend who has 2 mothers. Before I met her and the family, I was unaware of the problems and challenges people from the LGBT community face on an even regular basis because of their sexual orientation. After meeting her, I became more aware, and this is the reason why I chose to do a hate crime on the LGBTQ group. Just like my girlfriend with 2 moms in love, the 2 guys in the back who are kissing, a man and woman in love. Love is love no matter what. Everyone should be able to love who they want without having to be assaulted or worry about being judged. Like I wrote on the PowerPoint, love is love no matter what orientation.
Education is power, right? So yes, we are a small group, but we're all gonna end up in very different paths, you know, and having sat through this program, I think it will, and you know, it changes the way we perceive things and the way we interact in society. And I'm a firm believer in, you know, ideas get trickled down. So, you know, we're kind of the people who are going to change things.
And thank you so much again to Jen Hickey for your wonderful presentation. Next up, we have a presenter from the Asian Social Justice Fellowship, and I'd like to invite up the instructor, Tomomi Yamoto.
Thank you. I want to say thank you first to Holocaust Center and Korean American Coalition for Civic Empowerment. They just supported students, every student, and gave us really warm learning space. So I want to thank you for that. And thanks to them, we finished last class yesterday, and 10 students presented their final projects. They are all wonderful, well thought, inspiring, which made decision to choose only one project very difficult. Some of the students are here today, and thank you so much for wonderful work that you did. So we selected Kai-Min Won to share his idea with you today. Kai-Min went through some personal journey. He was born in China, and he went to Singapore to become a permanent resident there. And 1 year ago, he came to New York, and he enrolled in Queensboro Community College, and he heard about the Fellowship of Asian Gender and Violence. And he realized he hardly knew about this topic, despite it is part of his Asian heritage. So he decided to take this class, and he attended every single lectures, and he read scholarly articles. Some of them were, of course, challenging for being freshman, but he made an effort. He did his own individual project. He did some more research. He wrote some papers, and he presented really wonderful projects. Today, I'm really happy to share his wonderful project with you. So please enjoy.
Good afternoon. My name is Kai-Min Wang. And before I start, I would like to thank the Kaufberg Holocaust Center, my professor Tomomi Yamoto, and the Korean American Civic Empowerment Association. And last but not least, my fellow friends and classmates for coming here to support me. Thank you. And the topic for my presentation is focus on the comfort women. And before I decided for my presentation, I was wondered, what should I do? And when I talked one of my friend during a conversation, he was really confused when I mentioned the comfort women. And he said, what are comfort women? And I spent a few minutes to explain what are they. So I would like to know, how many of you actually know what are comfort women? Raise your hands. Very impressive. All right, thank you. So I did a research. For the student that responded to me, only 43 know what are comfort women, and majority of them have no idea. And the interesting part is I didn't only survey from the students, but also the faculties, my professors. For the 9 professors, 4 knows what are comfort women. And this is the interesting part. One of my professor, he is a chemistry professor. When he emailed me back, he said, thank you, Kai, for asking me this topic because I thought comfort women were war prostitutes. But when I Googled it, I realized it is not. So it was really an inspiring email because I just realized that without people spread this news and spread the topic, they may have this misunderstanding. And so let me introduce what are the comfort women. So they are the women that forced to brought to the comfort station during World War II by the Japanese army. And you may wonder how many comfort women were there. Well, the number is really surprising. 200,000 comfort women from Korea, China, Philippines, Australia. So, and mainly the 80% of the comfort women were from Korea. So you may wonder what happened to them, right? So they were brought to the comfort station, locked up in a small room, and forced as sex slaves. And they have to comfort up to 30 times every single day. And most of them were killed or murdered after the war ended by the Japanese army. And in this fellowship, we're not only reading the scholar articles, but we also have this opportunity to interview with one of the survivors, Yoon-soo Lee. She's 88 years old now. And when she talked about when she shared us her story, we knew that she was kidnapped at the age of 16 and brought to a comfort station at Taiwan. Her parents thought that she was dead and even made a funeral for her. When she came back after the war ended, her mother refused to believe she is still alive. And what I feel is like in this fellowship, I like this domino effect because there are many challenges going on. I think many of you may heard the ice bucket challenge. And because of that, people draws attention to ALS disease. I didn't know that Stephen Hawking was having ALS disease. Does anyone knows at what age Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with the ALS disease? Anyone? He was diagnosed at the age of 21 at the university. One more, 22 push-up challenge. It happens here in America. American veterans are having so much difficulties trying to convert back to civilian lives. Why is 22, you may wonder? Because every single day there are 22 veterans trying to commit suicide. And that's why they built up this challenge. And I went to the veteran office in our campus, and I found out there are 260 students are veterans. So they may want us, and they definitely need our help. And it brings me an idea for my project, which is the Flower for Comfort Challenge, because flower makes people feel happy and gives you a sense of relief to forgive people. And this flower not representing just the flowers, but Also, we want to spread the news because that flower is for comfort, and we need to spread these stories to the rest of the people. And this challenge is likewise that other challenges like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and the 22 Push-Up Challenge. We want to draw the people's attention to this particular group of people. And we need to spread the story of them. We need to make people understand the concept that what really happened to them, so that we will never forget those past and we learn the lessons from the history. And it comes to the end of my presentation. Thank you. And before that, for the high school students, we actually made some paper flowers. And before you go, you have a chance to make paper flowers and pass on this challenge to your fellow students or your friends. Yeah, so.
So Kai was kind enough to come by earlier and show us how to make them. Yeah. Well, a group huddled around the YouTube. But we have some for the students to take, not for each student, but to take back to the classroom, because this is Kai's first chance to put his idea into action, that to give you the flower. I'm sorry, I'm vocalizing this. I don't know why I'm taking the microphone away to say this, but to give you the flower that then you can go back and think about why you have this flower in your classroom. And it'll be an inspiration to think about it more. We wanted also to give a flower to the Holocaust survivor who is here with us today, Ethel Katz, and to thank you for working with us all this time. So the first flower goes to Ethel. All right, thank you, Kai. Thank you. And it's not. Yes, that's right. That's even more reason. Each of the times that the Comfort Women have come here, we've hosted Comfort Women here 3 or 4 different times, and Ethel has always been one of the partners to them when they've come in, along with Hannah Liebman, who was in the room but has since walked away. Yes, there is a picture right there on the wall, right by Caitlin. If you'll point at that plaque, we'll look at it as we go, of Ethel and Hannah, one of our other survivors who was in the room a minute ago, meeting with 2 of the Comfort Women survivors, including Young-Soo Lee and another survivor, Ok-Soon Lee, who isn't able to participate any longer. So thank you, Kai. And it's just one more thing to say that his reference to Stephen Hawking isn't coincidental. He's a physics major here at QCC. So just a little insight into how that came about. We now have a presenter from our Holocaust Fellowship. And to lead us there, I want to invite up the Assistant Director of the Holocaust Center, Marissa Hollywood, who leads the Holocaust Fellowship.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon. So as Dr. Lesham said, my name is Marissa Hollywood. I'm the Assistant Director here at the Holocaust Center, and I've led the Holocaust Fellowship for the last 8 semesters. And we're here today to acknowledge all of our fellows, and I'll be talking about the Holocaust Fellows. This semester, I had a group of 9 fantastic students, and they were a really diverse group studying all different things. We had health sciences, art and design, liberal arts, sociology, nursing, and museum studies, and they were all in different places in their course of study. And they worked really hard to learn about this really intense history of the Holocaust and the Jewish experience in Europe during World War II. I'd also like to thank a few people, Dr. Lesham, the KHC director, Rosemary Zins, the Vice President for Institutional Advancement, and of course our college president, Dr. Diane Call. I'd also like to thank Ms. Olivia Tercy, who's here with us today from the QCC Counseling Center, and she helped prepare our students to conduct their interview by talking about the history of trauma and its effects. It's a privilege to work here at Queensborough, and we have such a diverse student body, amazingly accomplished faculty and staff, and it's amazing to be able to continue my own education on the history of the Holocaust, as well as other genocides, and to have the opportunity to teach about this history as well. Most importantly, I want to thank all of the Holocaust survivors who took time out of their busy schedules to share their stories with the student. This is the most important aspect of this fellowship program. It's been 71 years since the end of the Holocaust, and we're running out of opportunities to hear these stories firsthand. What a profound experience to witness firsthand this story from someone who was a witness themselves. My hope is that the students will continue to share their survivor stories and to use these lessons to not only live richer lives, but to live more compassionate lives, and to begin to ask these questions that they gained from the interviews from their own families, from their own parents and grandparents, and learn more about their own stories while they have the chance. So just to recap the program, students met over the course of 12 weeks, and we learned an intensive history of the Holocaust. We discussed anti-Semitism, the Nuremberg laws, the Wannsee Conference, death camps, resistors and rescuers, and immigration and life after the Holocaust. And then the program culminated with students being assigned an actual Holocaust survivor that lives locally. And all of these students accomplished so much. I'm really proud of them. I would just like, can all the Holocaust fellows just stand up quickly so we can just acknowledge them quick? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay. So this semester, since we could only have one speaker, I've asked Luce Davis to represent our group by sharing the story of her Holocaust survivor and reflecting on her experience. Luce is studying nursing here at QCC, and this semester she took a special topics class in history of Germany. So when she learned about this fellowship, she saw that it would be a great opportunity to expand what she had learned. In her application to this program, she wrote something very profound that I wanted to share. As a nurse, I will encounter many people who have been through many traumatic experiences in their lifetime. I cannot imagine what a survivor of the Holocaust has endured. I would like to hear firsthand their accounts to gain more knowledge on this topic, and what better way to do that than by listening to their stories. So let's find out what she learned. Luce?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
What do you want to say what you were about?
Yes, this is a short video of the survivor Martin Braun, who I interviewed.
But now we were transported to Auschwitz. It was about maybe 2,000 people from all the civilian camps, because they had orders that civilian camps should be eliminated and the Jews would be killed. We come to Auschwitz. We went. It came out in about 12 o'clock at night.
How did you get there? By train?
Train, yeah.
Train.
They loaded us on train.
Okay.
And they told us not to eat anything because it's a long ride. It's going to take a few days. A bunch of crooks, such animals, They knew we go into the place. We knew we come to Auschwitz, we have to throw everything away. Your clothes and everything. And then Mengele was there, the doctor, and he made a selection. Every time a transport like this came, he was there. So he says, and we lined up, a woman on the side and young boys and others. They picked, 1 or 8. And they picked me on the side. I saw a truck standing there, open and closed. And I saw they picking the young boys and the elderly. I said, this doesn't look good to me. I was already sharp in figuring out. So I jumped over on the side, but they picked the young boy, the working people. And another kid followed me, and they pulled him back. I went to work, and the kid went with the elderly and the young. He said, I never saw them again. From my camp, nobody's passed. I came to the camp, I compared to the first camp, I said, this is a paradise. They transported, the camp was named Buna. They made the IG Farm company. If you heard, they were associated with the chemical. you know, they worked, they put us to work there. I came to the camp was lit up, wires, with the, you know, was 10,000 people there in that camp. Buna, B-U-N-A, which represents, this is the name of the robber. Name of robber. If you look up in the dictionary, what Buna is, the name the Buna, because there was a robber. And so I was there, and over there we got for breakfast we got a piece of bread, piece of margarine, you know, it was good, you know. And for the lunch they brought cans of soup where we worked. In there was wires also, and there were English prisoners there. All the prisoners who were capitulated in the war against the Germans, they took them also there to that place near Auschwitz. But they had Red Cross bringing them different things. We worked with them. Sometimes they gave us little cheeses, you know, cheeses and camp packages, you know. We were lucky there. Was eating better. Yeah, this was one of the good camps. So can you imagine what's the bad one looks like? Yeah.
My name is Luz Maria Davis. I'm a student here at QCC. Before I begin, I just want to thank Dr. Dan. I want to thank Dr. Dan and the director of the Holocaust Center, and also Marissa Hollywood, the assistant director. She was the one who sat with us for the past 12 weeks and gave us so much information about the Holocaust, and really had us talk about it. And I learned so much. You know, all my life, I'm not one of the younger students. I'm 48. So I came to school a little later in life, but all my life I've heard about the Holocaust. I've seen movies about the Holocaust. I've read books about the Holocaust. But when you interview someone, it's a whole different experience. It's something that I will never forget. And this has been an amazing experience. I'm grateful for programs such as this that exist, that bring awareness about the Holocaust. It's not only that you hear the stories, it's what you learn and what you take away and what you're gonna bring to the next generation. Because I think a lot of the Holocaust survivors, some can't talk about it, but the ones that do, I think that's part of the purpose. They don't want people to forget. They want it to be passed down to the next generation so that it's never forgotten. So I feel honored and I feel privileged to have done this fellowship. And I hope programs like this continue. I hope we continue to get the funding for them to continue because it's so important. I interviewed Martin Braun. He was born in Poland. And he was shipped around to several camps, but I think the most profound things that I learned from him and saw in his life was the divine intervention in his life and how he survived, how he was able to survive. I don't want to go into details, but he goes into details of how he survived these camps, and it is an amazing story. But he first lived in a small village with his parents, and he had 2 older sisters and a younger brother, and none of them survived. He was the only one that survived from his family. He was the only one who survived from his village. And like he said in the clip here, he was the only one who survived out of the first slave labor camp that he was taken to. He was the only one who survived. It's amazing, the divine intervention in this man's life. When I began to prepare for this interview, I was very nervous at first, but I didn't want to make it about how I felt. This story had to be told. And whether it's his children telling the story to the next generation or whether it's me or you, it counts. And I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference, and I want to, honor him by telling his story. Again, he started at a slave labor camp. He was only 13 years old, and this camp, the way he described it, for him to say that Auschwitz was a paradise, you can just imagine the deplorable conditions that he lived under. He was constantly tortured. He was starved. He was beaten. And he was worked 7 days a week, and the time when he was off, the person that was over them, this commander, tortured him and the other young men and women as a pastime. This is what they did for fun. So then from there, he was taken to Auschwitz, and as he said, when he got there, he was faced with Dr. Mengele, which I don't know if a lot of you know, but he was a doctor of death. He did horrible experiments on Jewish people and to children, especially to children, but he met face to face with him when he got to Auschwitz, and they were being separated, like he said. And again, Martin, he was the only one who jumped to another line, and as someone followed him, they were pulled back and sent to the other line where, unfortunately, they were being sent to the gas chamber, and he once again escaped. I just want to mention this also too, that when he was moved from Auschwitz, Auschwitz is also where he got his tattoo, and he was able to show that to us. When he was moved from this camp, right before his liberation, there was a time when he had said that he knew the war was coming to an end. There was bombs being dropped in the camp where he was. And he said that they had ran into a field and they managed to escape some of the prisoners. Of course, they were caught. Because Mr. Braun knew German, he was once again spared. They were brought out from this field and asked who spoke German. Him and another man responded that they did, and the other ones were shot on the spot. And he was again spared. So I just want to say that this was an amazing experience. It's something that I will never forget. I will carry it with me for the rest of my life. And like I said, the way I want to preserve his memory and his story is telling other people and to my children and my children's children. So thank you once again. And I just want to end with this quote. I just want to say this one quote before I end. This was said by Simon Wiesenthal, and he is also a Holocaust survivor. And he said, "The Holocaust was not only a Jewish tragedy, but also a human tragedy." And I hope that we never forget what happened in the Holocaust. Thank you so much.
Whoa, that is really loud, sorry. I was there with Luce at the interview in Martin Braun's home in Howard Beach, and I can tell you it was a very moving experience, especially to see the juxtaposition of here's a young woman who has just been studying this history in the abstract, reading books, watching movies, articles, all of a sudden now sitting opposite someone who lived through that history. But she didn't know anything about him, and he didn't know anything about her, but how fast they formed a bond and how quickly they were speaking the same language, not just with Martin, if you look at this picture, but those are his daughters there and his wife of many years, and the bond was instant. It was like an hour after the interview, and I was trying to peel Luce out of the room because I had to come back to work, but the family had kind of adopted her. And I think that one of the remarkable things about, certainly for those of you who met Halmoni Yong-Soo Lee, you don't have an encounter with Yong-Soo Lee without walking away feeling like she's your grandmother or she's your aunt. Her warmth and her presence, even on Skype, and I'm sorry you had it on Skype because in person she's quite a force to be reckoned with in her warmth and openness. And I think that all of you who had the chance to interview Holocaust survivors or comfort women survivors, and we're trying to bring more interviews to the hate crimes class, in my opinion, it's those interviews that change lives. It's not the learning in the books, it's not this, it's not that, and that's why I think these internships are so important. Oh, thank you. I can get closer to the mic now. These internships are so important because this is a time when young people who could go through all of their learning experiences without ever coming face to face with a real experience, an authentic experience, an engagement where in an hour and a half, I think that Luz's life was changed. And within that same hour and a half, I think Martin's life was changed. And it's both sides of the coin, right? Because on the one hand, survivors are amazing resources that we have with us. And we can learn so much from them, not only about their own experience, but about our own lives, what it means to be alive, what it means to be a human being, what it means to face adversity and challenge, what it means to be resilient and persevere and overcome. So in a way, survivors feel sometimes like they're very different from us. That's not my life. That's not my experience. I never had to persevere like that. I never had to overcome this unspeakable situation. But at the same time, what they have to tell us has everything to do with who we are, and not about someone that we're not about people different from us, but people just like us, and capabilities that we each have. Unfortunately, we each have the capability both to be the perpetrator of violence and hate, but luckily we also have the capability to be people who are resilient and can withstand and can stand up against violence and hate. And we're about to give our graduation certificates to our graduates. But I think that the most important thing I learned from you and the most important charge we give you today is that now you know. And knowing about something changes who you are as a human being. That's what knowledge is. And as I send you out of this room at the end of this ceremony, I know you understand that charge, and you understand what that means about the way you're going to live your life from here on out. And we used to ask every graduate to pledge that they would share the story that they heard during this fellowship, but we don't ask for that anymore because it's obvious to me that that's going to be a part of who you are and who you remain. So we're going to go through the different fellowship groups and give out certificates. When we call your group, everyone please come up to the front, and then we'll hand out the certificates and take a picture, all right? That concludes our program. I really want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank the students in the internships. I want to thank our presenters. This is really a remarkable moment each semester, and it's really my honor and my privilege to have known each of you. And I am hoping that this isn't the last time we see you. We will offer the full group of fellowships again in the fall. Next semester, we're offering something new that I should have mentioned earlier because it's a partnership thanks to Barry Grodenchik, the council member who spoke earlier, where we're partnering with an organization at Queens College called the Center for Ethnic, Racial, and Religious Understanding. And instead of offering the 3 different fellowships, we're offering one fellowship next semester called the Student Leadership Fellowship, which is it's only open to students who have completed one of our fellowships, but is designed to give you the skills to go out and make a difference in the world with what you now know and the things you've now come to understand. So there's going to be public speaking. There's going to be how to have difficult conversations with people. There's going to be how to build coalitions with people who share opinions with you. It's going to be how to go out and raise money, how to speak to legislative officials, how to get people to buy into your ideas and approach. So it's really going to be an interesting course. We will be sending you the applications this afternoon. They're due next Friday. So hopefully it shouldn't take longer than an hour or so, but I would love to see some of you from this semester stick with us for another semester, because I think it's going to be a really remarkable opportunity that'll really take what you've learned and hone them so that when you go out, you can make that difference that you all have in your hearts. And thank you all for coming.